Hello and welcome back to the channel where it's time for my top 5 favorite Doctor Who Christmas episodes. Now, why a top 5 instead of a top 10? The answer is kind of regeneration stories and Christmas tend to go hand in hand. And I want to at least try not to rely on regeneration stories or even post regeneration stories because those also tend to go hand in hand with Christmas. They always seem to save regenerations for in around that time. Um, so that's why I opted to go for a top 5 instead of a top 10. Now, if you know me, you should already know what my favorite Doctor Who Christmas special is. It's one of the first Doctor Who videos on the channel back when I first started in 2021, and it is an atrocious video, so do not go check that out. Any whoosies, yeah, let's kick things off with number 5. So number 5 has to go to the time of the Doctor. You know, Matt Smith's swan song, his regeneration episode. Like I said, it's difficult to avoid, regeneration episodes when it comes to talking about Christmas episodes because you either have a really good regeneration story set at Christmas, or you have The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe, which is an absolute dumpster fire of an episode. So you're kind of left with no real choice. So yeah, this episode, aside from it being a regeneration episode, we'll sidestep that for the moment, is a pretty good one. You know, we knew the Doctor was heading to Trenzalore. We knew this was coming, from the previous season. Specifically the end of the last season where we do see the aftermath of Trenzalore, and it also got mentioned in the 50th anniversary. However, I learned that initially, had Matt Smith stayed on to do Series 8, that's what the whole series would have been about, was his Doctor being trapped on Trenzalore for an entire season. And unfortunately, all of that had to get condensed down into a special. Just aside from the fact that it did have to get consent, and we probably did lose out on a lot of great moments that was released for the novelization version of this book, for this episode. It's still, a great episode. It gives Matt Smith a chance to expand his acting chops, with the truth field as well on there. So he's forced to tell the truth, the realization that it's the Time Lords that are causing this, and that's why every single race he's fought are here to prevent the Time Lords from coming back. Because once that happens, the Time War starts again. And it's interesting, it's great that fact that by the end of the 300-year mark of the Doctor protecting this world from it being destroyed, that it's the Daleks that are the last ones standing. And I'm going to have to now talk about the regeneration side of things, and it's a good regeneration. We knew this was his final regeneration. At the time the Time Child wasn't a thing, and so this was his final body. That's why we see this Doctor age over the next 300 years as he's defending this planet. And then, after Clara, who I despise, I hate her as a companion. Nothing against Jenna Coleman, but that's just how I feel. That she's the one who convinces the Time Lords to give him a new set of regenerations. And the whole explosion of the regeneration is amazing, because that's now changed the timeline, because we knew, like I said, from the end of Series 7, this is where the Doctor dies. This is where we see the TARDIS, this is where we see his time stream, and that's what led to, the events of Clara being split in the Possible Girl. But now the timeline has changed. And then, again, after that whole big spectacle, we see that he hasn't fully changed yet. And that was interesting, because I remember when this aired, my mother saying, why hasn't he changed yet? And then when it's just a quick blink and you miss it, regeneration, she's like, is that it? And it's still good. It's tear jerky. The quotes that he says in this about, always remembering who he was and who he is, and the fact that we do get Karen Gillan back for this, just to say goodbye to him. The first face This Face Saw, which is a running theme when it comes to regenerations with Doctor Who after this front. But it's a good Matt Smith episode, and it's a good regeneration episode, and it's a good Christmas episode. That is why I have it here at my number 5. So now let's move on to number 4. Number 4, I have to again give it to another regeneration story, because Capaldi just doesn't have the greatest of Christmas episodes, and that is his regeneration story in Twice Upon a Time. Now, I know that it is a decisive Christmas episode, mainly centered around the first Doctor. But when I rewatched it last year, when I was going through rewatching every Doctor Who episode for a review for this channel, I loved it when it first aired, and I loved it after the fact, and it kind of has a sentimental feeling for me, because it came out the year that a month after my mother died. And as I mentioned on this channel, Doctor Who was a big part of my growing up. It was a big part of me, watching it with my mother. And so it was really the first step of me, continuing to watch the show after her death. And that's kind of why I like it. Now, granted as well, I'm a huge Capaldi fan. Capaldi is my favorite modern Doctor, and he is, of course, on point. It's great that we got a proper send-off again for Bill. Not only Bill, but Nardole as well. And yeah, I didn't like the Clara scene. That's how he got his memories back of her. I didn't like that. But again, going back to what I said in for my number 5 pick, the first face, this face saw, always happens at a regeneration. Now, the storyline itself, I get not a lot of people like. The fact that there's no real villain of such. It's just this memory bank type of thing where they pluck people out to give their testimony, and then pluck them right back. I don't mind it. Now, the first Doctor, this is the first time that David Bradley properly played the Doctor, because obviously we knew from 4 years prior he took on the role for the TV movie An Adventure in Space and Time, as well as some Big Finish audios that happened after the fact. So this was his first time properly portraying him on screen as the first Doctor, not as David Bradley playing William Hartnell playing the Doctor. It's more so David Bradley playing the Doctor. And I know a lot of people did not like the overt sexism that he said, where when Bill curses at the Doctor, he pops his head out and says, "If you curse one more time, you're gonna get a jolly smacked bottom." Yeah, that was cringy. I ain't gonna lie, that was definitely cringy. There's definitely women have an hourglass figure joke in there as well. That was cringy. That doesn't take away my enjoyment of it. I do like David Bradley as his interpretation of the first Doctor. It's great. He plays it really, really well. He's no William Hartnell, obviously, but I still enjoyed it. And like I said, because I love Peter Capaldi, I have to put it on this list because it is such a one. It's a great send off for his character. Even the regeneration, I enjoyed. I enjoyed him giving a speech like what Matt Smith gave. Yes, it does kind of drag out that regeneration, but it's his way of actually saying goodbye to the Doctor, the role that he's been coveted for since he was a child. He grew up with Doctor Who. He's always wanted to be Doctor Who, which we all know about. And the fact that he actually got to do it, he achieved the childhood dream. And it's sad. It was sad to say goodbye to him. And whilst he was running around the TARDIS saying all this stuff, the Shepherd's Boy is playing, which is chef's kiss as a regeneration theme. I loved it, because it just gets stuck in your head. That music from Murray Gold, which at the time was going to be the last time we heard his music until he returned for the 60th. So as a swan song for the Moffat era. Even though I do believe the show should have ended with the World Enough in Time / The Doctor Falls. That's a video I keep promising I need to make. I'll do it in 2025. So yeah, that's why Twice Upon a Time is my number 4. I loved it, and I love it, and I love it, I love it. So yeah, let's see what my number 3 pick is. So number 3 goes to the second ever Christmas story that we got, which was of course The Runaway Bride. You know, it's continuing on from the emotional climax of the ending of series 2, where we said goodbye to Rose Tyler, the first companion of the modern era, the one that the Doctor was in love with. He was finally about to say it, and he didn't get that opportunity until season 4, and it wasn't really him. It was a clone of himself, essentially. You know, the other Doctor was the one who said it, and even though that was just a whisper in the ear, because Moffat just loves to, not Moffat, RTD just loved to tease us with that. You know, he was finally going to say it, but no, we know that it was whispered, but we didn't get to hear it. Anyway, yeah, the Runaway Bride. This was in the height of my hyperfixation with the show. You know, like I said, I've mentioned this before. I got into the show Christmas of 2005, and so Christmas of 2006, you know, obviously I'd watched some of season 1, and I watched all of series 2, and I loved it at the time. Now, I don't like series 2 all that much. If you want to know why, I did a review, a full season review. And so then we get to this episode, and the comedy's just there. You know, it's great. It's amazing from start to finish. Catherine Tate is amazing as Donna Noble. Obviously, you know, Catherine Tate would come back for series 4 as a full-time companion, and then again for the 60th anniversary. And every time she's come back, it's always, you know, it's amazing. There's a reason why this the Doctor and Donna are a lot of people's favorite TARDIS duo, and it's the reason why they were brought back for the 60th as well, because they're that beloved. And it's an interesting story, you know, having the Rackanauts be there, and we learn that they're the reason the Earth exists in the first place. And, you know, I remember when I was watching this story, because that Christmas, that's when I got a lot of Doctor Who merchandise. And I mean a lot of Doctor Who merchandise. I'm talking about the 12-foot Cybermen and Doctor action figures. I also got the remote control Daleks. I got a bunch of toys as well. As well as I had a TARDIS wardrobe. Yeah, one of those merchandises, which I never really used to store my clothes. I mainly used it to store my toys. I'm actually looking at the corner where it was, which if I just move, it was in this corner right here where you can kind of see me fail to point at. It's in that corner, and that's, you know, that's where I had it. And then the moment I seen a spider in it, that's when I stopped going into it, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, there's a lot of fond memories with this one, which is why I had to put it on. Like I said, it's a great episode. David Tennant's on point. You know, we see the bleed through of the time of Victorious. Catherine Tate, like I said, is amazing, and that is why I give The Runaway Bride my third pick. Now let's get on to pick number 2, which is the very first Doctor Who story I'd ever seen in full, which is David Tennant's first episode, a Doctor Light episode, being the Christmas Invasion. Yes, of course I had to put this on here, this high up. It's the episode that got me into Doctor Who, and like I said, I mentioned it in a lot of videos. I remember clearly. I was sitting on my beanbag, playing with my dual disc that I got, which is a Yu-Gi-Oh thing for those who don't know, and I remember my mother was taking a nap. Obviously, you know, the day took a toll on her with, you know, sleep-wise, because I got up early, obviously, and then we went to my nanny's for breakfast and dinner, and then we got dropped. I think we might have even went up to Dublin for a bit, and then we were dropped back home, and just in time for it to be on. And I remember watching it, and that's what got me into Doctor Who. Now, my mother did say that I had watched full episodes prior and was into the show then, but I don't remember that. I do remember watching a bit of Father's Day. I remember watching a bit of one of the series one finale, one of those two episodes, and then it was this full episode, and that's what got me heavily into the show. And then, of course, as I explained, my mother then went down and got me the series 1 volume 2 DVD, and I watched that a ton growing up. But yeah, this episode, as Dr. Light as it is, it's a great episode. You know, we get to pick back up, you know, where some of the plot threads from series 1. We see Harriet Jones, former MP of Flydale North, now Prime Minister. We get introduced to the Sycorax, which this is the only episode that they've really been a quote-unquote threat, because any time they've appeared after that, it's always been as background characters, and that's a shame. You know, I'd love for them to be fleshed out more, and that's saying a lot for a lot of these one-time villains. I'd love for them to be fleshed out more than just a one-off appearance that they've gotten, the Krullet Tank from Series 2 being another one. You know, as I said, this is a Dr. Light episode, so it's not really till towards the end of the episode that the Doctor wakes up. And it's, you know, kind of indicative of a lot of the classic episodes where, you know, regeneration goes wrong type of thing. Like what happened in Castrovalva, as a point, as well as from 6 to 7, there was that bit of fogginess there. And then, of course, 7 to 8, where the 8th Doctor just forgot who he was for most of that movie. And so it's, you know, it's done well. As a Dr. Light episode, there's very few Dr. Light episodes. They're always done to save on budget. It's really, really great. And I love seeing him pick out his costume in the wardrobe. The only time we have ever one of the only times we've ever seen the wardrobe, mainly the only time we've ever seen the wardrobe in the modern era of the show. And so yeah, there's a lot of nostalgia behind that, is why I have it as my number 2 spot. So then what's number 1? It's got to be Matt Smith's first Christmas episode, A Christmas Carol. Now, I know a lot of people have flip-flopped on this in recent times. I know I personally did. Initially, when the episode came out, I didn't like it. I thought it was shit. And then, of course, the other Matt Smith Christmas episodes came out, and then it's like, oh, this is far better than, you know, The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe, and The Snowman. So yeah, Matt's only really had 2 good Christmas episodes, and the other one was his regeneration episode. But yeah, I love and adore this. This is my favorite interpretation of A Christmas Carol. I love Michael Gambon as, you know, this version of Scrooge. I love seeing all the time travel shenanigans, and stuff. And it's, like I said, it's my favorite. It's my favorite. It's the one that I love to return to every now and again around Christmas time. And it's just great. It's just great. Like I said, I did do a review on that. I reviewed every episode that I have mentioned on this list. If you want to check them out, they're in my Doctor Who reviews and more playlist. And that is going to wrap this video up. And I think that's going to be it for me until the next Christmas special. Yeah, so I'll see you in 5 days. Well, technically, I'll see you in 3 days. On the 23rd for my review of the colorization of the War Games, because I've never seen that episode. So it's going to be interesting to see what I think of, you know, watching this 90-minute cut down. And then potentially, you know, next year I'll review the whole 10 episodes. So yeah, that is going to be it. So I'll see you all, of course, on Friday night for that, because it's not on until 9 o'clock. So you'll either get that Friday night that night, or you'll get it Saturday morning, Christmas Eve. But yeah, I'll catch you all on the very next upload. I'll see you all next time.